Well, we do have Irina with us. Irina, welcome back to the show. Yesterday when you came here and you said you're fighting for the podium, but more importantly, you're just feeling good about yourself, your friendships that you have been developing, and it definitely showed in this game. This was not an easy task. With the white pieces, sure, it's a player that you have been enjoying success against, but she was on a tear and you stopped her. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I felt like this game was really quite good from the beginning. Like there were a few things that I did that I was quite happy with in the opening when I played this knight e5 move, stopping her e5 plans, and then I played bishop b3, and neither of those moves were obvious at all.
Yeah.
Like they kind of took me a lot of time. And I mean, certainly knight e5, like you can try to play that position in a much more standard way. But knight e5, I was like, I can actually fight against the e5 idea. And bishop b3 also, like very, prophylactic, because the idea is every time she takes on e5, she's not going to get b5 with tempo. I'm going to threaten knight e4. So I was really quite happy with this. Oh, and the other point of bishop b3 is that if she takes on d4 and I take on d4, she doesn't have knight b6, right? And sort of like, this type of idea, yeah. So she's not going to hit the bishop and the pawn at the same time. So those things were actually really important to me building up this game. And obviously, at some point I had just like a most wonderful position. I also think the plan of doubling on the d file, while of course everyone knows rooks should come to the open file. It wasn't completely obvious to me in the game just because there were so many other opportunities to play on the king side. But yeah, once I got to this position, I knew I was doing well. And of course I had, very, very poor technique in winning this position. So, what you saw was not very clean at all. Because once I took the pawn on h6, it must have been completely winning.
And unfortunately, we have some problems with the board. We will rectify that in just a second. Maybe you can take it from here, Yasser.
Yeah, just go through where you felt it was great. Queen takes h6, you're a happy camper.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, maybe starting from here, I kind of wonder, right? Because queen h3 seems so obvious, but then she got her queen out because I couldn't take with the rook because of knight e2. And once the queen came out, I actually realized it was not easy. So it was really just like in some very short amount of time. I wonder if maybe even queen h3 was a mistake. Maybe I should have played queen h4. That way I can take with the rook on d3. Actually, yeah, queen h4. Yeah, why not? I mean, it makes a big difference, yeah.
Right.
And then she can never really trade because the rook's coming to h3, which is kind of unpleasant. So, I mean, something like this should have been convincing, right? But I just thought my position was so winning, I kind of didn't feel that she could come back into the game. But once queen h6 happened, I knew she was back in. And I saw this knight b5, c4 idea. So, really kind of losing control, but not completely at this stage, as we're getting into the first time trouble. Obviously, I thought this position was stable for me after b3. Like it seems very unfortunate to let the black pawn get to c3, but, I'm kind of holding everything with my control of the d file. And okay, here feeling sort of okay about how things were going, so I had to make the time control. Queen f3, I don't know if that was a good decision or not. It seemed okay to go for this end game. And basically here I was at least feeling pretty safe about my position. Like I knew this pawn was not going to promote, and I thought there were decent chances to win this end game. And of course the really interesting moment happened, a few moves later. And here I feel like maybe I messed up, right? So I was looking at, knight c3 was sort of my main calculation after rook b8, rook d4. I can show you, rook d4. If knight c3, then I was going to take on c2 and allow knight d5 and play e takes d5, rook takes c2 and d6, and I thought that this should be a winning position for me.
It is. It is. Rook to b2, d7, and you get the win. But she found this move,
I kind of missed,
knight to a3, and that shocked us as well, because it doesn't seem like you have a way to make any progress in the position. And in fact, this was the critical moment because you allowed the threefold repetition. And in fact,
I know.
She did not stop the clock. And she played this move, knight to a3. This would have been the third time. And at this point, with only a few seconds on the clock, you made that decision to continue the game. You could have played king e3. That's going to be a draw. You made a decision to continue the game with f5. What was going through your mind at that point?
You know, I had finally seen this idea of f5, right? Because my whole attention had been on the queen side when I realized like I just couldn't win the game on the queen side, despite the fact that all my pieces were there. All the action would seem to be on the queen side, and I couldn't win. So that was really quite disappointing for me that this, you know, king d3 idea just doesn't work. And then finally, you know, and I'm running down on the clock. You know, I kind of saw f5. I was like, oh, actually, I'm not just giving away a pawn because she gets mated if she takes it. So this is like some sort of possibility for me to, you know, play, you know, maybe get rid of one of the double pawns. So I had seen this idea, but I needed the king, I guess. I needed the king on, like in this position. This is where I wanted to do it. And, you know, when you're down to 5 seconds, like I knew I was allowing the repetition, but at the same time, I already had seen this idea. And I was like, once she didn't take it, I was like, okay, and now I'm going for it. And you know, I was really happy that I found this because obviously I didn't really want the draw.
Yeah.
You know, it was more a situation of just like running down on the clock and, you know, making sure you don't lose on time, which I could easily do, as I'm sure you guys, you know. So, you know, f5 was, yeah, probably my best moments of the game because, you know, you're already sort of supposed to be acquiescing to the 3-move repetition. You got no time as compared to your opponent. But, you know, you pull out that little bit inside of you to play for the win. And, you know, that's kind of, in my opinion, the best moment of the game for me.
Absolutely, and it definitely paid off. Congratulations, Irina. Big victory for you. And you're throwing the gauntlet in this tournament because the standings once again changed. Congratulations. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Christian.
Absolutely. Our congratulations.